शुक्र खुदा में रज़वी हो।
Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah and the mercy of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we are still in the month of Rajabul Murajjab, and we are attaining the blessings of this Mubarak month, inshallah al-Azim. Soon we will have Shab-e Mi'raj. Alhamdulillah, we have received Shari Shahadat also for this month. So Shab-e Mi'raj will be in the next week, inshallah, the eve of the ascension of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And around the corner is our niyaz of Sayyidina Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq radiyallahu anhu, which everybody regards as the Kirpuri niyaz, done on the 15th or done on the 22nd, etc., or any time in the month of Rajab, or any time like that day as well, because there is no hard and fast rule on that day, because it is niyaz. But alhamdulillah, it is all, these are all means of great blessings. Remembering Hazrat Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, to make this niyaz that our elders have always been making, but always remember that it must be kept within the Shariat stipulation. It must be kept within the Shariat stipulation. And when making the niyaz, I said this before, of Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq radiyallahu anhu, the Kirpuri niyaz on the 22nd, don't forget to also remember Hazrat Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiyallahu anhu, Sahabi Rasul Hazrat Amir Muawiyah, because it is the date of his Wisal also. And there are those, the Shia, etc., especially, they use that day to slander Hazrat Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah. We must use it to praise Hazrat Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah, because that is the tariqah of the Sahaba of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And all the Sahaba Ikram are equal in Sahabiyat. All the Sahaba Ikram, because they are companions of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, they differ in rank and status. Hazrat Amir Muawiyah is a Sahabi indeed, but he can't compare to the rank that has been given to Mawla Ali radiyallahu anhu. And Mawla Ali is a Sahabi indeed, but he can't compare to the rank that has been given to Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala. But we regard all of them as Sahaba of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we must honor them and respect them accordingly. If there was any difference between the companions, who are we to get involved? We have no right, because their differences are barakat as well. So we should not get involved in that. We must honor every single companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, every Sahabi. So when you are doing the niyaz of Sayyidina Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq radiyallahu anhu, remember Hazrat Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiyallahu anhu. Also, inshallah, there will be barakat twofold in that as well. Now, alhamdulillah, we are fortunate, we are blessed that Allah has given us tawfiq to remember Him. Allah has given us Zuban, but with this Zuban, at least we get to make the dhikr of Allah. We are getting to come to the masjid. We are coming to make dua, we are coming to make ibadah, we are coming to remember Allah and His beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the beloveds of Allah, especially on the Jummah. Look, Allah is commanding us to obey Him. Everywhere in the Quran, the commands are about the obedience to Allah and the obedience to beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's manifested in the entire Quran. And this is something that is important in the life of every believer. If a person cannot obey Allah, and if you cannot obey the commands of Allah and the commands of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then believer in what sense? Just for name. We have to understand that until and unless we don't obey Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then our zindagi is not going to be complete. And you must also remember at the same time that when you obey Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will also be tested. We will be tested with difficulties. We will be tested with hardships. We will be tested with all different types of things. But success is for those who remain on the path of righteousness. Success is for those who remain on the path of piety, even in difficult times. Now, since we're talking about, and I said today is Jummah, do you know that there is a narration about this Mubarak day? I'm saying this because I find people sometimes come to the masjid on a Friday, but they're not inside the masjid. Sadly, you'll see as the time goes, people come to a masjid on a Friday, but they're not inside the masjid. They rush in just before Imam says takbir, and people have to say, Maulana, 2 minutes. For what? For what? You should have been inside the masjid. Because this is the maqam and the fazilat of this day. This Jummah is a very blessed day. It is in Hadith Mubarak while on the discussion, and I said Friday. Hazrat Sayyiduna Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, Sahabi Rasul. Hazrat Sayyidina Abu Huraira radhiyallahu anhu reports a hadith. This hadith is narrated in Abu Dawud, it is narrated in Tirmizi, and Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Al-Damiri radhiyallahu anhu has quoted it in Hayatul Haywan as well. Hazrat Abu Huraira radhiyallahu anhu reported that the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there is no quadruped animal, in other words, four-legged animal. There is no quadruped animal that walks on the earth. There is no quadruped animal that walks on the earth that it does not silently pay attention on a Friday. There is no quadruped animal, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, on the earth that walks this earth that does not give special attention on a Friday in the fear that that Friday Qiyamah may come. Animal, जानवर, क़यामत के फिक्र में. Animal. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's word is haq. There is no quadruped animal today. Today, Friday, there is no quadruped animal in the dunya that has not paid attention to the coming of Qiyamah. How many of us have paid attention to the coming of Qiyamah since this morning? How many of us? Think for a moment. Even the animals are thinking and aware and fear. Because they know, look, people talk Allahu Akbar. Today people are talking about whether the Nabi knows when Qiyamah will come. The Nabi is saying the animals know that Qiyamah will come on a Friday. The Nabi Sallallahu is telling you that the animal knows that Qiyamah will come on a Friday. Every quadruped animal knows this. That Qiyamah will come. They don't know which Friday. But all of them on a Friday they become afraid. That will this not be the Friday? Will this not be the Friday that Qiyamah will come? So think about it for a moment. Even the animals are aware that Qiyamah will come on a Friday. And thus even in the fear when a Friday comes, they pay special attention. Yet we insan, we Muslims, often forget the importance of this day. We come right to the door and we can't remember it. We often forget the fazilat of this day. Remember, the Friday is indeed a day of blessing. The Friday is indeed a day of blessing, and I'll tell you just now how blessed. The Friday is indeed a day of blessing, but it is also the day the Qiyamah will come. It is the day when the earth and skies will crash. It is the day when the sky will collapse and fold, the earth will twist over. Everything will be finished. Only will be existing Allah Wahid Hakiki. Everything will come to an end. Everything will perish. And one of the signs of this Qiyamah, is that there will be numerous earthquakes. One of the signs of this Qiyamah is that there will be numerous earthquakes and torrential rains, and people will die in big numbers. How many people died during COVID? Sign of Qiyamah. What has happened now in Turkey to our brothers and sisters? When you look at what has happened in Turkiye, you look at what has happened there, and while we look at that, we're making dua. I hope every one of us at least had this much to pick up your hand and make dua for them one day. And say, oh Allah, have mercy on them. Those that have passed away amongst the Muslims, oh Allah, exalt them in Jannah, for they are already martyrs. And those that are safe and survived, oh Allah, grant them shifa from the injuries. Those children that have become orphaned, oh Allah, have mercy upon them. Those women that have become widowed, oh Allah, have mercy upon them. It is time for dua. If you can't do anything else, at least pick up our hands and make dua. Have we lost so much consciousness that we can't even make dua? We are still busy in guna, while we are seeing more than 20,000 people have been destroyed in seconds. But we are still proud of our high-rise buildings. But this is when the hukum of Allah comes, nothing lasts. This is one earthquake. What about when Qiyamah is going to happen? What is going to be the hal on that time? This is what these things happen. These are signs from Allah. Yes, people lose their lives. It is the will of Allah. A lot happens. It is the will of Allah. But it is a time for an awakening. Why cannot it happen here tomorrow? Why cannot it happen anywhere else in the world? It is the will of Allah. Do we feel we are immune? That it won't happen to us? It is something for us to remember. This happens so that we wake up. So that we realize what is our maqsad in this world. We realize why Allah has put us here. Why did He put us here? To obey Him. To obey His beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're making dua for the people of Turkey. We try to assist them in financial and every other way possible. Make sure it goes through the right channels if you are doing it. But the great lesson in this, as I said, there is a great lesson that when such disasters do come by the will of Allah, then if you survive, it is only by the will of Allah. It is only by the will of Allah. And a Muslim, subhanallah, a true Muslim is very fortunate that if he lives, he's a survivor. And if he dies, he's a shaheed. Either way, he's blessed. Either way, he's blessed. But at the same time, again, it is something for us to think about. We look at what is happening there. It hurts. It brings tears to our eyes. We think about, Ya Allah, what are they going through today? What are those children going through who were pulled from rubble and they have no family to go back to? They have no homes to go back to. And then you think about it, today we have the best of homes here. We have everything. But did we wake up for Fajr Salah this morning? Ask yourself. Did you wake up? If you did not wake up today, then don't talk about the earthquake in Turkey. It has made no difference to you. It has made no difference to our consciousness. If you have continued making guna even after seeing all this happening, then don't talk about it, because in reality, it made no difference to us. The difference is when you know what is happening and you do something about it. You do something about it to make yourself a better Muslim. You do something about it to make shukr in the court of Allah. That, oh Allah, no matter what hardship we are facing, but it is still not as difficult as what they are facing. Think about these things and understand. And think and ask yourself the question, something that we have to ask ourselves. And it's something that I've asked myself over the last few days. And I think you too ask yourself this question. That after knowing all this, after seeing what has happened in Turkiye, after seeing, the Muslim Ummah is like one body. When one part of the body feels taklif, it must be felt through the entire body. Okay, so those Muslims at Sunni Sahihul Aqidah, they have gone in this and perished in this, we should be feeling it. We should be feeling for those who have lost their livelihoods. They've lost their limbs. They've lost their wealth. They've lost everything. But still, why haven't we made changes? We should make change the second we hear about this. The question that comes up is, after knowing all of this, why do we still transgress the commands of Allah? Why do we still transgress the commands of Allah? Why do we ignore the blessed words of the beloved Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why do we forget what the Sahaba Ikram, the Tabi'een, the Tabi'een and the Awliya Kamilin taught us? Why do we forget that zindagi ye nahi hai kisi ke liye? Zindagi hai Nabi ke liye. Why do we forget na samajh marte hai zindagi ke liye? Jeena marna hai sab kuch Nabi ke liye. Why do we forget the success of the Sahaba Ridwanullahi ta'ala majma'in, as each of them sacrificed themselves at the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why do we forget that we should never bring on our zuban a single word against any Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why is this happening? After seeing all of this, why? Why do people still do this? Why do we make mistakes? It is because we know, but we are not conscious of the reality. We don't care. It's not happening to us. Think about it. Think about it. This dunya is not forever. Your and my life is not forever. This is one earthquake. Now the death toll is around 20,000. In the next few days, you see how it climbs. It will go on climbing. Because as they're moving the buildings and the rubble, they are finding thousands of people. May Allah protect those that are still alive in there. But, reality is reality. If Allah wills, somebody may survive in there for years and months. Because Allah is the one who gives rizq to a worm inside a stone. So He can keep whom He wants alive. Zindagi and maut is in the hukum of Allah. The sooner we understand this, we know it. But the sooner we understand this reality, the sooner we will become closer in the court of our Rabb. The sooner we will not compromise our deen. The sooner people will not open their zubans against the beloveds of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. So think about it. Today, this Jummah, we are remembering those who lost their lives. We are remembering those who have gone through difficulty. But this is a Mubarak day. This is the day of dua. It is a day of special blessing. There is a hadith reported from Hazrat Sayyidina Abu Lubaba radiyallahu anhu. Again, I'll tell you about the Friday. Hazrat Sayyidina Abu Lubaba radiallahu anhu is reported that Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that indeed Friday is the chief of all the days. Which day? Today. Friday. Indeed Friday is the chief of all the days. And in the divine court of Allah, it is granted greater virtue than Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. This Friday is granted greater virtue than Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. And then the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, then the Nabi said, listen, what did the Nabi say? He said, there is no angel in the sky and on the earths and on the mountains, in the winds or in the ocean, who is not fearful of this, that Qiyamah can come on this day. Angel, Malaika who are Masoom, they are fearing when the Friday comes that Qiyamah can come anytime. Huh? But we, it's something to think about. This has been clearly mentioned. This Hadith Sharif is in Mishkat al-Masabi as well. Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, subhanallah, talking about the Friday. And also today being another important day, while I'm on the discussion, it is the Yawm Shafi'u Qarvi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh. It is the day that marks the Yawm of Hazrat Shafi'u Qarvi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh for his khidmat to the Ahl Sunnat wal Jama'at and his fight against the Bad Mazhabs. One of his biggest efforts was his fight against the Bad Mazhabs in no compromise policy. When it came to Bad Mazhabs, and those who take his name and those who say we respect and honor these great scholars, but yet you befriend those who are the enemy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you are being disloyal to these grand scholars, because they never compromised their deen, they never compromised their aqidah. So we pay tribute to Hazrat Allama Mufti Afthab Cassim Al-Qaadiri on this Mubarak day, on this Jummah as well. Now this Jummah, concerning this Friday, one last narration and I'm going to end, is that there is a hadith again from Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. Let's say Subhanallah and plant ourselves a tree in Jannah. And we make dua today that whatever we are doing, amal salihah, whatever we are doing, our Jummah, our lecture, our Na'at Sharif, our khutbah, our durood, our tasbihs which we are reading, through the sadaqah of Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may it go for all the Ahlul Sunnah that have passed away in Turkey and Syria. May it be rewarded to all their souls that have passed away there. And may it be a means for all those who survived. May Allah bless them with the reward of whatever we have done today. Now it is reported from Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu says that Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam held my hand. How lucky they were. How lucky they were. How nice do you feel if your father holds your hand? How nice do you feel when your mother holds your hand? How did Abu Hurairah feel when the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was holding his hand? Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu says that the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam held my hand, and on holding my hand, the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah created sand, in other words the earth. Allah created the earth on a Saturday. Allah created the earth on a Saturday. He created in it the mountains on a Sunday. Allah created the earth on a Saturday. And He created in it the mountains on a Sunday. And He created therein the trees on a Monday. He created the trees on a Monday. And He created the disliked thing, the dark forces on a Tuesday. And He created Noor on a Wednesday. He created light on a Wednesday. That's why Imam Al-Ghazali radiallahu anhu says, if I want to do some new thing, and if it's a Tuesday, I'd rather work 40 years before I do it on a Wednesday, on the next day. Okay? So He created light on a Wednesday. Allah created Noor on a Wednesday. And then Allah spread over the earth the animals on a Thursday. Allah spread over the earth the animals on a Thursday, every species. And Allah created Hazrat Adam alayhi salam on a Friday. Allah created Hazrat Adam alayhi salam on a Friday. Allah created Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, hadith of Muslim Sharif. Allah Ta'ala created Adam alayhi salam on a Friday after Asr. After Asr. And as per this hadith, that part of Asr which is close to Maghrib. So that is why it has been mentioned in the hadith, and the scholars have said that one of the best times of acceptance of dua is Friday between Asr and Maghrib. Friday between Asr and Maghrib. That is why some of the mashayikh, some of the scholars, when they sit on the musalla at Asr on a Friday, they don't wake up till Maghrib. They sit there and they make dua, because there is one moment in which your dua will be kabul. So if you have big issues in your life, some scholars have said that, Muhaddisin have said that one of the times of acceptance on the Friday is when the Imam is on the mimbar. But you make dua in your heart at that time. One is while the khutbah is happening, in your heart you make dua. One is on the Friday while you're in the masjid. And most of them, and other narrations say, like this one, that the most important time is after Asr, between Asr and Maghrib. Why? That moment, that time that's closer to Maghrib, is when Almighty Allah sent Adam alayhi salam on this dunya. Now see the fazilat of this dunya. People say, what's so important about the day? Why are you making big day? Every day is Mubarak, bhai. One day the earth, one day the sky, one day the zameen, one day the sun. All these days you should be making shukr every day. Every day we make shukr in the court of Allah that, oh Allah, that today the zameen was created. Oh Allah, today the skies were created. Oh Allah, today the earth was created. Oh Allah, today the noor was created. Everything. Okay? And you make shukr that even that they are disliked things in the dunya, but Allah protects us by His mercy from them as well. So this day, when this Jummah comes, when you come to the masjid, when you remember when you get up in the morning on a Friday, every day actually, when you get up, but especially on a Friday, think that today is that day when the first insan was created, and this is that day when all insan and everything will be wiped out. Qiyamah will come. Okay, it's going to come, it's going to happen. Think about it and let these incidents like Turkiye, whatever has happened there, be awakening for us. Let it be a time for us to sit back, look at our lives, take spiritual stock. That what are we doing and what should we be doing? Look, Hazrat Taj Sharia's words are beshak. The words of the awliya cannot be disputed. What did he say? Na samajh marte hai zindagi ke liye. We are dying for this life. For the sake of this world, people forsake their mothers and fathers. For the sake of this dunya, people forsake their parents. For the sake of this dunya, people take the haqq of their brothers. For the sake of their dunya, people slander their own scholars and their mashayikh and their aimma. All for the dunya. But they don't realize, Jina marna hai sab kuch Nabi ke liye. This life, this death, everything is for Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because Allah created us here for His ibadah, but He put us here so that one day we will die and we will end up on Maidan al-Mahshar, and there we will stand and see the shan of Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that day you will see the maqam of your beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is why Ustaz Zaman said, Shab-e Asra ke dulha par nishawar hone wali thi. Shab-e Asra ke dulha par nishawar hone wali thi. Nahi to kya gharaz the itne jano ke banane se. All was this to be sacrificed upon the groom of the eve of Mi'raj, the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So take the blessings of this month, whatever remains. And if you doing niyaz in your house, Imam Jafar's niyaz again, don't forget Sayyidina Imam Muawiyah, all the companions of the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if anybody tells you don't make niyaz, don't listen. Any niyaz of the awliya, of the sahaba, of the mashayikh, they say don't make. People are now saying, why are you remembering Hazrat Amir Muawiyah? La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anybody who says this does not love Mawla Ali radiallahu anh. He does not love any awliya in reality, because you cannot love one and leave one. You cannot love one and leave one. You love one, you love all. That is the reality. So Allah give us tawfiq to understand. Allah keep us with iman. Let us leave this world with iman. Those who are ill in our community, Allah grant them shifa kamil, sehat ajil. Those that have passed on in Ahl Sunnah, Allah exalt them in Jannatul Naeem. Sister Khadija had asked us to make, a sister whose husband is very ill, has asked us to make dua for her husband. Allah grant him shifa kamil, sehat ajil. All others that are ill, Allah grant them shifa kamil, sehat ajil. Those that have passed away in Ahl Sunnah, especially all these Ahl Sunnah that have passed away in Turkey, in Syria, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exalt them in Jannatul Naeem. And may Allah grant ease to those who are going through this difficult time. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to rectify our lives by looking at what has happened there. May Allah keep us with iman. Let us leave this world with iman. Wa ma ilal balagh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.